John, I've made it a point throughout this series of getting small to medium-sized men on this show. And tonight, both of you have ruined this entirely. Are you very self-conscious about your huge height?
Well, I regard it as normal, you see. That's the trouble. So when I meet someone of, what, 5'1"?
You flatter me, it's 4'11", actually. Thank you very much.
My mother's only 5'1", incidentally.
Ah.
And when I was about 13 years of age, if we walked down the street, because I was 6 foot tall by that point, people used to nudge each other as we went by.
Well, I think it's always that being tall or short is just a mental outlook, you know? Because I always think I'm very tall.
How tall are you?
Well, I'm very tall.
Excellent.
I think it affects how people perceive you. I think it must, because if I'm a movie director shooting George, and I want to make him look very impressive, I put the camera down there. And if I want to make him look unimpressive, I put the camera above him. You know,
yes.
Standard, right? Yes. Cinema grammar.
They just pointed at me. It looks very unimpressive, I tell you. But does your height... Forgive me harping on about this, but I'm going to, of course. Does it affect what is known as body language? It must, I suppose.
I think I'm just awkward. I think I just move strangely. You said the giraffe and the hovercraft. I think the first time I ever saw myself on television, which was in New Zealand in 1964, I couldn't believe it. You know, it's like when you first hear your voice on a tape recorder for the first time, you think that's not me. Because the bottom half of me moved around on this cushion of air, and the top half kind of waved. And I always moved like that as Basil Fawlty, and people said, gosh, doesn't he move funnily? And then in Clockwise, I tried not to, and I did anyway, so...
I mean, my other guests are sitting very demurely, the pair of them. Does this body language tell you anything?
Well, they're both rather open, aren't they?
Open?
I am, actually. So, it's all... Oh, you're better now.
Thank you. Yes. You mentioned...
Yes, excuse me,
Sorry.
but, you know, both Joan and I were such incredible fans of Monty Python, you know, and I never thought that he was awkwardly tall. I mean, we were just watching it all the time in New York, if you must know.
Well, the others were a pretty healthy height, actually.
Oh, that's why.
That's really what it was, yeah. I mean, Graham's 6'2", Eric's 6 foot, and then the two small ones, whose name I forget, they're about 5'8".
How tall do you have to be so you remember the name?
About 6'3".
Oh. Just call me Brian, then. There we are. Now, in Clockwise, which you mentioned, your new movie, there's a lot of you rushing around in it, and, as you say, there is a lot of you. Do you ever hurt yourself?
A great deal. As I get older, I hurt myself more. For the first day, I mean, it really wasn't very impressive. The first day, I banged my knee running around actually on camera. So then I had to get out of this 1100 for the next 4 days. And to try and put all the weight onto this knee so that it didn't hurt this was the obvious choice. After 4 days, I had 70 cc's of fluid on my right knee. So I had to do some running around on Hull Station. So I bound that up with an elastic bandage. And by 3 o'clock the next day, running around the station, I tore my left hamstring.
Well, I must say something about this, too, because I'm very disturbed that, you know, he mentioned the age. And I think age is also just a figment of our imagination, you know?
But, Yoko, it starts falling apart.
No.
My teeth fell out in a restaurant last week. 3 teeth fell out. I've had 2 hair transplants, and the transplanted hair is falling out. Well,
do you ever hurt other people, John?
A great deal. But, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that.
Not emotionally, I mean... physically.
Oh, you mean physically?
Yes.
Oh, not so often. No.
Yes.
I did hurt dear Andrew Sachs, I'm afraid, once.
Only once?
Well, twice, if you insist. I had to hit him with a frying pan. I tried to catch him a glancing blow, and it wasn't a glancing blow. I apologised a great deal, but it did get a good laugh. Actually, it didn't get a good laugh to start with, because the whole studio audience went, and then they laughed.
Yes. When they saw he was really hurt.
When they saw he was really hurt, yes.
You are, as we know, a specialist in manic characters. Has that type always been a favourite target of yours?
No, I like the bland, cruel ones. You know, the guys who sit in the city with pinstripe suits and make cruel decisions about widows and orphans. I enjoyed those.
Was your own family a model for any of this?
No, not really. No, it was relatively normal. I mean, that's by Western Supermare standards, where they're all fucking mad anyway.
What frustrates you, John?
I think bad service because of the video arts training films. I think when somebody gives me bad service in a restaurant, I think it annoys me. I don't take it so personally. I think, why don't they get it right? You know, all they have to do is to remember 3 orders. You know, they don't have to go into the kitchen and write a cello concerto or, you know, evolve a geometrical theorem. They just have to get the order right, and they can't do that. That I think, irritates me.
Yes, I remember you told me while we were discussing the Basil character once, and I said there was a guy I was at school with who ran a hotel, and if anybody asked for an extra slice of toast, he'd call them a bastard. They are around, aren't they? George, what frustrates you?
Phones, when you call somebody and they're engaged. I hate that. I'm always calling the operator and begging them to sort of, like, you know, interrupt calls and things. I hate phones when they're engaged. That's one of the things that frustrates me.
Yes,
hell of a lot.
I understand that.
And phone boxes.
Especially, but yeah, in England, every phone box is busted. Actually, if you go to Japan, no telephone boxes are ever busted, ever. So actually, England is really, really renowned for that. You never make a call, you know, sort of an emergency, and the phone's busted. Someone stole all the money in the box.
I think it's to do with the fact that people in England think the phones don't work because they've been vandalised, and it isn't that. They've been vandalised because they don't work.
Do you think that the Americans are better at handling all these frustrations?
Oh, yes, they're much better, aren't they? Americans, if something isn't right, they call the guy over and they say, this isn't right, please do something about it. And they do it quite pleasantly, but they do it assertively. And the dear old English sit there, seething in fury, you know, until the person comes up and says, have you enjoyed your meal? And they say, very nice indeed. And they don't do anything about it, so they go out angry and never come back. I mean, it's a terrible way of handling it.
Yes, that's quite true. I know you don't speak for the Japanese, Yoko, and it's been a long time since you've lived there, but do the Japanese find the English figures of fun?
Oh, well, you know, what I really like about English is that they have an incredible tolerance for eccentricity, don't they? And so, well, in fact, the whole society is rather eccentric. But I mean, it's very nice that, you know, it's about time that we're sort of gentle and kind to each other and to ourselves, you know. And I think that in other countries, I feel that they're sort of trying too hard in a way. I like this sort of everything is falling apart but gentle, you know. And when I come back here, I feel sort of relaxed about it. Oh, it's great, you know.
Let's get historical now. You and the Beatles emerged at the same time.
It's a certain difference in publicity.
Were you a fan?
Yes. I mean, I'm so ignorant on pop music, I'm almost embarrassed to be sitting here, but I think that they wrote the greatest tunes along with Tchaikovsky that I've ever heard. And I'm afraid I just love tunes.
Yoko said that she and John were fans of the Python series, and you're a Fawlty Towers man, aren't you, George?
Definitely. So you have to lie down after one episode for about half an hour. It's so manic. You have to kind of take a break and sort of relax, you know.
Last week I was talking to Les Dawson about taboo subjects, and of course, as the world knows, Life of Brian was criticised for being in bad taste, capital letters. Do you draw the line these days at anything?
I think you do. People often ask me about a general rule, and all I can say is it's terribly hard to sense whether or not you can do a particular joke about something. I start from the attitude that you should try, and if it proves impossible, I mean, there was a Fawlty Towers with the dead body, where we wanted to resolve it. Well, it was great, the dead body, that was wonderful. I just said to a great friend who worked at the Savoy Hotel, I said, what was the worst problem you had at the Savoy Hotel? And he said, getting the stiffs out. Absolutely true, but in that episode, we tried to have the guy who died have a twin brother, so that after Basil had put the body away, the twin walked in. Which would have been very funny, but there was no way of telling the twin brother about his twin's death in a comedy show. So do you see what I mean?
Yes. It's very endearing the way it amuses you as well. I mean, did you used to watch and laugh? Do you still watch and laugh?
Yes, I've got to the point now that I can actually, because I've forgotten the jokes. I watched one the other day and I'm afraid I laughed more than anyone else in the audience. It's about a psychiatrist. But at the moment, on a film like Clockwise, you see, which I've seen 8 times in the last 3 months, I can now only see what's wrong with it and just sit there thinking, oh, why was I too relaxed there, and why did I look, you know, and you just see all the errors. But in 4 years' time, when I've forgotten it, I'll probably be able to go back and have a couple of giggles.
You once listed your hobbies as gluttony and sloth, but I'm sure you've had to rewrite that, haven't you?
No, not really. No, I'm happy with those. Are there others? I mean, you're not going to suggest collecting stamps, washing your car.
You're not slothful, are you?
Very slothful, yes. I mean, not if I have to get up to work, but I should just go straight back to bed now, sleep till Tuesday week. The next appointment is 4:30.
Mad on food?
Mm-hmm. Well, it tastes so good, doesn't it? It tastes better than anything else.
What tastes best?
Best is lobster.
Ah.
Huh?
Well, lobster's all right. But, you know, he's lucky because he can...
It's the most wonderful taste in the world.
Oh, all right.
Did John try to introduce you to tripe and onions and other English delicacies?
Oh, yes. You know, the thing is, the first thing that happened was he was give me lunch. And the first lunch he gave me was toast, beans on toast. And he got the beans out of can. And I was like, what is this? I mean, I couldn't believe people would just beans on toast as lunch, you know?
George, you've travelled the world now. What food do you enjoy?
Anything and everything. Anything really. Chinese, Japanese food, anything.
Because one has no idea what shape you are anyway, so you can do what you like.
I think all food is good except Mexican food.
Wonderful shape.
Right? Have you ever eaten Mexican food?
Yeah, I love Mexican food,
Oh,
except all the
sure.
noise they make when you're eating it.
I think it should be made illegal.
What is so bad about Mexican food?
Well, you get plates. You get a great plate, and it doesn't have anything on it except pools of different coloured things. You ask, what is that? This is in America. You ask, what's that? They say it's melted cheddar cheese. You know, this is Mexican food. And then what is this brown pile? And they say that's refried beans. Have you come across that?
Refried
Yes,
beans?
they didn't get them right the first time. I've never seen it. It's such awful food. And then they have avocado, and they do one thing with avocado, which is to... What's the word? I can't remember. I'm bored with this anyway.
Yes, let's talk about